Okay. Oh, cool. Good afternoon, everyone. Magnificent afternoon. Wonderful evening and awesome morning. This is Carla with MindPlore with Carla and Friends, and we had a major screw up that I needed to correct. So we are back now to get this show on the road and moving. And I am so thrilled to have this team together and working with me. Everyone should be unmuted, please. Having said that we are today talking about freedom and the definition of freedom. And it goes much further than what we give it credit for. Freedom begins in our minds and how we think, and then radiates outside of ourselves. Freedom to make mistakes, freedom to be correct, freedom to do anything we want. It's all in our mind and how we create our mind and how we think in our mind. So today we're going to open up freedom, and we lost Asif again. I hope we find him again. And we're going to talk about different people's definition of freedom. And I'm going to learn as much as the four people speaking and anyone who is watching about what is true freedom. Having said that, I am going to ask Gayathri to once again open up the show and welcome everyone, because I need to do a tiny bit of sharing. And I'm hoping I'm going to put the link in the chat on Zoom in a moment. You guys who are on the panel will also share it out. Okay, Gayathri, go to it, please.
Thank you so much, Carla. And once again, a very warm welcome to all the viewers of MindPlore with Carla and her friends. We were talking about the definition of freedom according to Oxford Dictionary, which reads, freedom means the right to do or say what you want without anyone stopping you. How many of us really experience that kind of a freedom? In some aspects, yes, we do. In some aspects, maybe not. And then there are other aspects where it is rather conditional. And human mind loves to wander. And it loves to wander in the higher self. And as human mind travels in the higher self, we come across some interesting statements like the one made by Ralph Ellison in Invisible Man. He said, when I discover who I am, I'll be free. I used to think that too, because that is the purpose of life. We say that a person is born twice. Once when the person is actually born, and second time when the person realizes the purpose. So discovering who we are, would that really be freedom? Well, maybe the mind wanders way out of the box sometimes. And then every now and then, some wise person like Benjamin Franklin decides to come up and put the human beings in their place. When Benjamin Franklin said, they who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety. This is the first part of that entire quote. I'm going to repeat that once again because it is extremely important. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Giving up on our liberty, well, according to Benjamin Franklin, those people don't deserve anything at all. What do you think? Do you think that it is okay to give up our freedom for temporary safety, temporary gains? Over here, safety is probably just a metaphor for temporary gains. Oh, it's okay, I'll do that. How many of us see the Big Brother's house? It's basically giving up on the freedom for a number of days. It all comes down to one question. Is anything in this world worth giving up our freedom for? I'm going to start with Samir. Do you think there is anything in this world worth giving up your freedom for?
That's a good question, Gayatri. Dr. Gayatri. I have a slightly different take on it. I think we give up our freedom every single moment. You know, the one person that each one of us is hostage to is ourselves. The past, for me, human beings, we're completely given by what has been, and we're forever compensating for what hadn't been. So yeah, I mean, it's not worth it. Being free is a privilege, and to be free, one needs to distinguish what it is that is constraining me, what it is that is stopping me. So I don't know if I answered your question, did I?
Okay. And on that note, I think the reason I went speechless was I was thinking, yeah, we do give up our freedom every single moment for petty things. Forget about bigger things. Safety is a comparatively bigger thing, but yes, we do give up our freedom on petty things. Well, let's take that conversation forward. Asif, what do you think? Is it worth giving up our freedom for something? And do you agree with Samir that, well, we end up giving up our freedom every single day?
Sorry, can you repeat your question? Because here the internet connection is not good due to weather. So sometimes I cannot hear very well.
Yes, Asif, I will slowly say it because I could just sense Carla telling me you need to speak slowly so that Asif can understand. So here I am saying slowly. Yes, Carla?
But it's not only that. You need to slow down for many, many reasons.
Yes.
He has a very poor connection. He may not be able to.
It's not about your pace. Because of
Asif, we're having trouble understanding you. We may not be able to continue with you. We'll give you a chance, and if your internet stays poor, we'll need to go on with just the four of us. Can you hear me now?
Right.
Okay. And Samir, please open up your mic.
So Asif, my question is, Asif has dropped off. Okay. Julie, the floor is all yours. Are you willing to give up your freedom for maybe something big, or do you really believe, like Samir does, that yes, we are giving up our freedom every single day?
I do agree with Samir because, like the quote that I was going to share by Nelson Mandela states, "For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others." Because while our freedom is important, and the fact that we understand it in a different way than others around us, it kind of ties into what we were talking about on Tuesday in being a leader. And so we give up small freedoms, like let's say for our children or our spouses, so that way we can increase their lives, which in the end increases our own. So in ways like that, especially in the family, I believe that we just have to be aware of the freedoms that we're giving away to make sure that they're not hindering our own growth.
That is wonderfully said. And we have Asif back. So Asif, the question is,
Yes.
do you think there is anything worth in this world to give up your freedom? Or do you believe that we give up on our freedom every single day?
Well, I will let you know my own experience, my way of thinking, and how I choose. Because freedom is all about to choose and to act and to speak and to listen also. So once we choose to free, that whatever we want to do, we can do it. This is a state of being, expansion, and a confidence that you can do anything. That level of confidence. But for me, freedom is related with respect, because I am free, but the other person is also free, and he can speak and decide whatever he can do. So I have to respect his freedom, his choice. I cannot say that it's my free will to not accepting or accepting anything. As per the latest social situation and the problems we have faced as a whole overall world, we have to develop a culture to respect others, to respect those people that are different from us. They may have any kind of ideology, but they have right to do so, and I have to respect it. And not only respect their ideology, but all those people to whom they respect, maybe their political leader or their religious leaders. I have to respect all those, just because there are so many people are associated with it and their emotions are associated with it. Therefore, for me, freedom is respect, to develop a society of togetherness. Freedom brings togetherness. Freedom brings flow in our society. That is harmony, because our society is a bouquet of so many colorful flowers. All have their own unique colors and uniqueness. Therefore, we have to respect all different colors and consider them as a one, all togetherness. That is the freedom and respect relationship in my point of view. And that's how I live, or I try to live at least. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Asif. And now we come to you, Carla. Would you give up your freedom?
I need you to go to someone else. I'll be back in a moment.
Okay, Carla. So one other thing that I always wanted to talk about freedom or ask about freedom was this. From talking about India or talking about Pakistan, the moment we say freedom, we talk about the freedom struggle we had to free our country from colonialism. Julie, what do you think about freedom when somebody says freedom? I think Samir and Asif will both agree with me that the moment we say freedom for Indians, for Pakistanis, for Bangladeshis, for us, freedom is more connected to the events of 1947 when we really got freedom. Julie, what is it in your part of the world? What do you guys think when the word freedom is said? Freedom is used.
So what I think, America, they call, I'm sure everyone has heard, the land of the free. And for me, being brought up religiously, which I know so many are, not only in the States, but around the world, a lot of religion tends to keep you in a box. And like Asif said, his definition of freedom is respect and individuality. And I feel in a lot of religions, there is not a whole lot of place for individuality, because that's kind of scary, I would say, to those who, who are involved in, higher up in the politics of the religion, I guess. I do have another quote by Anne Frank that I thought goes nicely with the subject that we're kind of going in freedom here. It says, "I found that there is always some beauty left in nature, sunshine, freedom, in yourself. These can all help you." So no matter what situation we're in, whether we're here in the States and we're materialistically free, or in this 3D realm that we live in, if we think about the words of Anne Frank, and I'm sure we're all familiar, she was in the Holocaust, that she, from our point of view today, it kind of seems like she didn't have much to be thankful for, or much beauty to see and appreciate. So her words always hold a special meaning in my heart, and they inspire me to remember all the blessings that I have. And I think those are all wrapped up in freedom as well.
Talking about Anne Frank, that was a different level of losing freedom. That was like literally losing freedom. When we talk about losing freedom, it can be a scary thought. Personally, it scares me the most. How many on this panel are scared by mere thought of not being free, losing out on freedom? Yes, Carla?
When we're talking about freedom on this show, we are talking about inner freedom.
Yes.
We're not talking about politics. We're not talking about things that people put upon us.
Yeah, but that is involved with the freedom we have inside.
I agree, but can I please finish my point?
Yep, I actually have to go. I'm so sorry. My daughter's calling from school. I don't know what's going on.
Why don't you take that call? Okay. When we're talking, and I agree, the outer freedom does affect what we're saying. The inner freedom is another thing, and it's something that we all struggle with. And we struggle with because the outer freedom tells us something different. And the outer freedom tells us, oh, I'm not supposed to like Muslims, or I'm not supposed to enjoy dancing because my religion tells me not to enjoy it, but I like to dance. I was getting to that point when Julie said what she was saying. I want to stick with exploring the inner freedom and how the inner freedom is affected by the outer freedom. Does that make sense?
Sure.
It does. It does. In fact, I think, Samir, you wrote something on your Facebook wherein you just voiced a fear of being considered as an anti-national because you made a decision to visit a neighboring country.
Yeah.
Now,
so
here is my question. Here is my question for you.
Yeah. So I think if I may just very quickly share. I was 24 years old, and when I first So I was living in the US and I had my dream come true back in 1995. And, I had everything that I ever wanted in my life. I had a car and I had a, wonderful flat and everything else. Am I still online? So, and I'm just, and I just sat there and I looked at my life and I realized that I've lived all my life according to the parameters set by everyone else. When I was a child, I wanted to do well in exams and I wanted to be the head of my class because I got appreciated by the teachers and my parents. And as I grew up, I studied engineering only because, the smartest kids in the class studied engineering. And then, in my engineering class, the smartest kids went to the US to live there. And so here I am, in 1995, living in the US, earning a good salary, having my own car and everything else. And I don't feel any different from what I was feeling, 4 years earlier when I was in college. And I saw that, for me, I wrote an article. There used to be these things called discussion forums, it's similar to Facebook today. And I wrote something called as Coming to America. And I said, look, I haven't lived my life according to my own decisions at all. I've only lived what everybody else told me, how I should live. And for me, in that moment, when I decided that I want to go back to India and be with my parents, for the first time in my life, I experienced freedom. My friends, family members, people thought I was being stupid. It made no sense for me to, just leave everything and go back to India. When I first, and the second, then, and I was sharing with Carla earlier, in 2003, in 2013, sorry, I was sitting down with, with some journalists in Washington, D.C. and talking about Pakistan and, peace between India and Pakistan. And, this guy said to me, he said, you have no idea, people in Pakistan absolutely hate you. And I looked back at my own journey and I said, everything I know about Pakistan is from the lens that others have given me. And when I finally did reach Pakistan in 1995, I got to experience Pakistan myself, a completely different country from what I heard about. I got free from everything else that had been imposed upon me. And as I look at my life, that's what's happening. I'm living my life, which is given by what the society tells me I can or cannot do. It's given by what the media in my country tells me or what my government tells me. And so for me, freedom really is about when I can be free of all the baggage that I've been carrying for all these 51 years and discover for myself, whatever what is it that makes me happy? What is it that I want to do in life? That's what I wanted to add.
On that note, I would just like to add, Samir, during the pandemic, I am associated with Toastmasters. So one fine day, I got an invitation to speak at Karachi Toastmasters Club by distinguished Toastmaster Talha bin Hamid. One of the most fond memories of that meeting was that there were, I think, 3 or 4 Indians in that room, and there were about 8 to 10 Pakistanis in that room. Everybody cribbing about their countries. Nobody wanted to really talk about what was good for a change. Both the nationals in that room, they just wanted to crib about their respective countries and talk about where their countries really needed to improve. And as the moral of the story, I just realized that maybe emotionally and psychologically, both the citizens are going through similar trauma and ordeal.
Yeah, I want to add something more, Dr. Gayathri. Sorry, I'm just taking much more time on the panel.
No, you're fine.
So, there's a story I shared with Carla the other day, yesterday. When I went to Pakistan in December 2018 to attend the wedding of a friend's daughter. And as we crossed the border, we being driven by in my host's car. And then she said, there was a roadside cart selling juice, fruit juice. And then she stopped and she said, he serves a very good fruit juice. And then she said to him, look, I've got friends who've come from India, make sure you clean things properly and, give them a good glass of juice. And then there was about 100 yards away, there was another cart, and there was this guy, the red colored beard, we call them the mullahs in India. So there's a guy wearing a red colored beard, maybe about 50 years, 55 years old. And he overheard the conversation. And then he walked up to me. And he said, are you from India? So, "Aap India to aaye hain?" I said, yes. So he walks back to his cart. He pulls out a guava. He, cuts it into four. And he adds some, sulfurous black salt to it. And then, with a very beaming smile, he comes and gives it to me. In that moment, he was perhaps more free than any other human being in this world. He wasn't driven by what his society, his country, what the media in his country were telling him. That was a moment of pure magic, moment of love, where he was free and he set me free. Because for me, I've been carrying these images of mullahs, red, their beards dyed red, of, people who are, highly religious. And, here's a human being, just delivering love, pure love to another human being. We all got liberated from the stereotypes, that I grew up, and, at least I did, I mean, he freed himself up. And then he freed me up as well in that moment.
And that's the whole point. And we keep forgetting. When I said, Gayathri, let's get back to inner freedom, I did not mean take away what's going outside of us. But I also meant, and I was saying that, or it appeared that I was saying that, but more so, I was saying, let yourself open up. If you're thinking that you hate Pakistan because what happened on 9/11, I'm talking about people in this country, you're missing out on meeting some really super wonderful people. I was doing that until a crazy man by the name of Rehan Allahwala found me and introduced me to Pakistan, introduced me to the Muslims, who I thought were just terrorists. It's not true. And boy, did I have a lot of friends come to me and say, don't talk to him. He's a terrorist. And I'm like, no, he isn't. We need to begin to look at people and not just the politics we see around the world. And that's the importance of this show, is opening up our minds to this. That's how it sort of started when Leif Erikson left. Oh, I can't think of his name right now. But when Leif said, start a brain gym. And I said, a brain gym? What's that? And he said, have people begin thinking for themselves and get an idea of what they have to say. And it was a 15-minute show. It never ended up being 15 minutes only. But in the beginning, yeah, for the first week or two, and then it kind of lengthened, and now it's an hour show. But the whole idea is taking that freedom that we think we can't do something and taking not out of it and turning it into can. Turning it into who are we really? and who we really are is beyond this body. We're not restricted to the body. We're not really restricted to the mind, but the mind is where our thoughts live. But we're restricted to that which lies under the mind, which is consciousness. And consciousness is everywhere. And that's the excitement that I find when I say, let's talk about freedom, or let's talk about whatever. It's giving life to that we have never thought about before. So Gayathri, if I inappropriately stopped you, I'm sorry, but
No,
I
no, no.
wanted to open up that discussion.
No. I completely agree. And honestly, freedom from prejudices, freedom from our own limitations, freedom from what pressures in form of peer pressure, pressures in form of social pressures, pressures in form of political pressures, freedom from any kind of pressures that our mind feels. In my opinion, if we are free from those pressures, then we are truly, truly free.
That's so
One of the examples of that freedom that I like to quote is Mirabai. Mirabai was a saint from India long time ago, sometime around 14th, 15th century. She was a queen, but she united with God in a way that she left all the luxuries of the palace and she would live in the temple with Krishna, because that is where she found her love and that is where she was set free in true sense. The freedom she experienced was such that people used to sing for her. There was this 4 lines sung for her. I'll translate them for everyone. Log kahe meera ho gayi bawari, saas kahe kul nashi re, pag ghungaru bandh meera nachi re, pag ghungaru bandh meera nachi re. The queen who came out, left everything and started living in the temple. This is what people spoke about her. People called her a fool. People started saying that she has gone mad. Her mother-in-law said that she is dragging the name of the family through mud. And what everybody saw was that this queen was now free from every bondage, and which is why she wore those ghungru on her feet and she's dancing. And that was the dance of freedom. That was the dance of glory. That was also the time when we experienced that women did not have as many freedoms, even in following religious path or the path of spirituality. They had a lot of bondings that they had to live within. There were a lot of limitations. Once she went to meet a fellow monk, a fellow saint who was also an ardent follower of Lord Krishna, and he refused to meet her, stating that he didn't meet women. And she said, "Oh, I didn't realize that I came to meet a man. I thought I came to meet a soul who had gone beyond these physicalities." And that, I think, was the freedom that she experienced, and that at that point, even that other saint experienced. So I think the freedom has to come from the thoughts, prejudices, and it also has to come wherein we are not bound within our bodily limits either.
It's a beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Can I just say one thing, and Samir, you can take over? I got stuck in the thought of maybe you were going into politics, or you were going into the outer world and what was happening in India and Pakistan or the United States and the world. And I wanted to stop that right then. That was my prejudice. That was my lack of letting you speak and finishing your point. And as I said, we all make mistakes. And that was a big mistake on my part. So I want to apologize to the whole group here.
That's fine, Carla. No problems. I just wanted to add, there's a very, one of my favorite poems, Carla, by a Nobel laureate, Rabindranath Tagore, where the mind is without fear. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. Rabindranath Tagore. This is what he wrote 100 years ago. And, this is so beautiful because, in that poem, he's talking about freedom from, not, like you said, Dr. Gayathri, freedom not just from the imperial powers, but also he's talking about freedom from, what drags us down, So, and that kind of goes back to what Carla was also saying, being free from the bondage from the past, because as I was saying earlier, human beings, our biggest slavery is to our past. It is like the whatever happened in the past, whether as a country or as a as a society or as individuals. I mean, I want to share something, if I may. Since we're talking of freedom, I got married in 1998, and for almost 20 years, I had a difficult marriage. And as I was doing one of these workshops, and I saw for the first time in my life as a 46-year-old that really the first time I came to know about my wife was when I watched a movie as an 11-year-old back in 1982. And in that movie, the daughter-in-law walked into the family and split the sons from the parents. And in my mind, that story was always there. And so for me, I had a bias. I had a perception that when I get married, my wife is going to split the family, right? And in that moment, as a 46-year-old, for the first time in my life, I saw how, that decision from the past, that memory from the past was really driving my life. I was a slave to it. I was a slave to that memory. And when I got free from it, my wife appeared a completely different human being for me, right? And that for me was a day of freedom, to be free from the bias that I had been carrying for almost 35 years.
And yet you're still together. Are you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I saw that I made up that story. And when I could give up that story, I could have a great relationship with her.
I'm single, so I am experiencing freedom like no one else.
Got it, guys.
I'm single too.
For me, it was more like when the pandemic began. So I was 24, and everybody in India usually gets married in their 20s. So my family started talking about my marriage. I turned 28, and they stopped talking about my marriage because they realized I was a lost cause and that I will marry whenever I'm ready. I was 32 when pandemic started and it was lockdown, and the first thought came to my mind was this: thank God I'm not married. And the moment that thought came to my mind, I realized maybe I am not really prepared to get married even at 32. And then I look at former Miss Universe Sushmita Sen, and I'm like, confident, oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I don't have to do anything just because someone is saying something. So I think I am experiencing freedom of thought, freedom of action by not falling into that trap of social norms.
Got it. Perfect. That's what freedom is about. It's
But
about
yeah.
it's about being unconstrained by.
Well, can I add something here?
Yes, please, Asif.
Well, I'm a Pakistani, right? I born in a province Sindh, therefore I am a Sindhi also. My parents, my mother belongs from Bihar, Subai Bihar in India. My father belongs from Bengal, Bangladesh, and I born in Pakistan. So my identity and everyone's identity has been, there are so many kind of identities that we carry. The problem is not in the identity. Because if we reject the individuality or identity or ideology, we will not make people together. Therefore, the real freedom is our inner state that bring people together to respect their identities and individualities and let them allow if they disagree with you. So this is the sign of freedom. The other sign of freedom is synthesis, differences of opinions. There are two kinds of differences of opinion, left and right, thesis and antithesis. And the person who can synthesize two different ideologies, two different parts of truth is a sign of a person who is Azad or free man, because he is above the individuality, although he is accepting the individuality of others and respecting. Dr. Gayathri and Samir definitely know that Urdu, my language, my mother tongue, the national language of Pakistan, is the culture, the literature is called Urdu Adab. Our literature in our language, the literature is called Adab. Adab means respect, ihtaram. So this is our culture and we have to promote it. We Pakistani are still learning, experiencing. We are doing good and bad both, but we are learning and we are trying to bring togetherness within us and with the whole world. I am Pakistani and my name is Asif Ali Azad, and I love and I'm part of this big world and our problems are same. So this is my message, this is my understanding. And I would like to go now because I have another meeting. We are working for a flood relief fund and I have to go there. So I am sorry not to continue with you. So allow me to go. And such a lovely meeting with Dr. Gayathri. Samir especially, I love Samir. I love you, Samir. Love from Pakistan. A good, strong Pakistan and a good, strong India and a good, strong Bangladesh and all nations are definitely a good sign of togetherness and respect. For the people of so many differences, we have to be accept and respect each other. Thank you very much. Allow me to go because I have to attend another meeting.
Okay, no problem.
Carla?
It's okay.
Thank you. All togetherness, and this is freedom.
Thank you.
Celebration. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Interesting show.
Interesting twists and turns.
But you know, the point is, with the twists and turns, we are continuing and we're talking about freedom and we're allowing the freedom of different individuals to do as they need. Gayathri, what do you have to say to that? I'll get back to you, Asif.
Asif has dropped off.
I mean, Samir.
So
I told you I was very nervous about today.
okay, so Carla, let's have the question repeated one more time.
How? My initial question?
Your initial question.
Okay, I believe it was, how do you define freedom for yourself?
Okay, so how do I define freedom for myself? I am rather a fan of Coco Chanel. So for me, freedom is more like a place, to be in a place mentally where I am not bound by anything, where I'm not bound by what anyone thinks of me, where I'm not bound by anything anyone says about me. The only thing that I probably would be bound by is that little thing, that little faith that holds me together, that faith in that Almighty. Because He's the one who actually brought me to a place wherein I can experience a sense of freedom like no one else. And I'm extremely grateful for that, that I was never into peer pressure, I was never into social pressures, and I could come out of them. And I'm also grateful that my family is adapting with me as I am. They are scared of the kind of freedom I've experienced, but somewhere deep down, they understand the freedom I'm experiencing. So I think freedom for me is just not being bound by anything, anyone, any thoughts, or any pressures.
True.
That would be me.
Samir?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question, and taking off a little bit from what Dr. Gayathri said. I'll give you an example, Carla, and I love giving examples, just to illustrate what I'm saying. My mother, she got cancer in 2008, and it was a tough moment for the whole family. And she was supposed to live for only 6 months. She actually lived for more than 9 years, and it was one of the most amazing periods of our life as a family. We came together and we had a lot of fun and we celebrated. And we celebrated every single birthday, every single wedding anniversary, every single festival. We're about 57 minutes away from the 5th year of the day she died, and we're having a celebration tomorrow. I'm going to be waking up at 5:30 in the morning and cooking up a meal. And what I got from her when I saw her being free is every night as she went to sleep, she will say, "Dear God, these are the things that I'm worried about today. And I give those to you. And I'm free as I go to sleep." So what, very similar to what Dr. Gayathri said, that for me was freedom. And then she'll wake up in the morning all smiley and ready to have a great time. That for me was great freedom. To be free from, when I talk of freedom, there are some actions, like you said, Dr. Gayathri, like my mom said, there are some actions we can take to be free. Now, one of them is to surrender to God. And surrendering my worries to God is one way of being free of them. That for me is also freedom.
Absolutely.
You know, I am associated with Sri Sri Ravi Shankar.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you there. My mom, my dad is also, he's a puja coordinator for Ghaziabad. So my mother was heavily, so she would, after she did the Art of Living course, she would actually be free because she would hand over all her worries to her guru, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, by the way.
Wow. You know, that's important to me. As an Art of Living teacher, which I usually don't say on the show, but I'm going to today, I've learned about freedom. And to be honest with you, until today's show, I didn't quite understand it as much as I do now. And I'm not saying I have a total understanding. I had a lady leave because of a misunderstanding. I really believe a misunderstanding and not hearing the whole story. I had a guy leave just now because he had another appointment and he couldn't stay the whole time. And normally I would be saying, oh, it's me. I did something horrible. But I didn't do anything wrong. It happened because of what was going on for them. And to me, that is great freedom.
Absolutely, yes.
And you, Samir, the other day, when I said to you, oh, I have severe arthritis in my back and some scoliosis, I'm not you can tell I'm not very worried about it. I just got the diagnosis. And I'm like, okay, people care about me and they're telling me I should do this or do that. I haven't decided what I'm going to do. But the important thing was I was able to listen to you and not allow it to affect how I'm going to move on further. And to me, that is major growth of freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Carla, I wanted to add something to what you just said. You know, this is what my mom said to me once. And she said, look, the greatest freedom is when I can be free in the middle of all the bondage that I have. And she said, look, my body has disease, right? I don't have freedom. I can't go to the temples. I can't go out for a walk. I can't go out and eat what I want to eat. And yet I'm free. I'm free because I'm not letting any of that dictate my mood. I'm not letting any of that make me sad. I'm free from it.
Wow. And that's important because we get so stuck in what others may say, or boy, I hate the walker and I'm using the walker. But if I wasn't using the walker, I would be stuck not walking around. If I decided, hey, the walker defines me as an old, decrepit person, I would be sad, but I haven't allowed it to define me. So freedom means getting away from those concerns.
Yeah,
when I first met Rehan, I didn't want him to know about the walker. Of course, he found out a few months later when he came to DC and he saw me walking with it. I may have told him prior to it. And I thought, he took a picture of me with the walker. and said, you should post it. And I remember saying, no, Rehan, I don't want to post myself with that. It makes me look like an old woman. And he came back, he said, you're not an old woman. That's all in your mind. Post it. So I played around with it for a little while, and then finally I did post it because I realized by posting it, it freed me from that boundary of, hey, I'm an old woman because I'm using it. So it's that freedom of being able to do what you need to do without worry.
And
Go on.
no, I was just going to remind that it's over an hour now that we are here.
I was thinking about that myself. Actually, it's 56 minutes. Because remember, we went out and we went in.
Yes, yes,
What
yes.
I would like you guys to do, very quickly, summarize what you're taking from the show today.
Well, I'm taking away an idea of being free from the prejudices. I think that was one thing that we always talk about, being free from the prejudices, but it's not as easy as it is said. It is something really difficult to achieve. So while I chant Adi Shankaracharya's Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivoham, that I'm that eternal Shiva where everything unites, I have to question myself, am I really that soul where everything unites without prejudice? And I have to just ask myself that. And I think the answer still is that work in progress, still need.
And we are all works in progress. Samir?
Yeah, I'll just continue from what Dr. Gayathri said. What I'm taking away is freedom to me is moment by moment by moment. It's a choice I make in every moment to be free from the concerns I have, to be free from the prejudices I have, and to also be free from the want to be free. If I can be free when I have an experience of not being free, that's true freedom for me.
And that's what it's about. It's every moment.
Yeah.
Every moment changes. And every moment we feel differently from the moment before and the moment after. But we're very lucky that we do what we do. And with that, we will be back on next Tuesday with another MindPlore topic. I have no idea what it'll be at the moment, but we look forward to talking to you then.
Bye.
And bye. See, they're even waving
Bye.
for me.